Hi everyone, welcome to Lola's Frugal Life. This is episode number 219, and today we're going to be talking about limiting lifestyle creep. So please stick around for a few quick words from our sponsor and we'll get right into the show. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. If there is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals, BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line, it's not self-help, it's professional counseling done securely online. There is a broad range of expertise available, which may not be available to you locally. The service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit betterhelp.com/Lola, that's better HELP, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Lola's Frugal Life listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Lola. Okay, everyone, so today I wanted to talk about limiting lifestyle creep. So, lifestyle creep, I'm sure you all know, is when our lifestyle is inflated when we get an increase in pay or an increase in income from whatever source that might be. So over time, we might start doing things like upgrading the car, skipping the bagged lunches, buying more expensive wine or more expensive coffee, or going on more expensive vacations. It's just all of these aspects of our life we're kind of upgrading every time we get more income. And if you inflate your expenses to match your inflated income, even though your income's gone up, you don't really have anything left to show for it because everything extra you got is just going to all these different things. And by having this happen, it can prevent us from achieving financial goals that we may have because we're using all of our increased income to cover increased discretionary spending. And if this continues every time your income is increased, you can end up living paycheck to paycheck regardless of what your annual income is. Or worse yet, if you're overestimating how much extra money you really have, you can even wind up going into debt because of upgrading your lifestyle, because you're thinking you have all this extra money because you got an increase in income, and you wind up going over in other areas, and now you're spending even more than you're making. So I'm definitely not at all saying that you should never make any upgrades to your lifestyle as you make more income, because there's certain things that are really important to us. And of course, as we earn more income, we're going to want to do those things and put money towards those things. But it's more about just not letting it happen without realizing it and then looking back and saying, where did all this money go that I made over all these years? The whole term of the lifestyle creep is more that it's just little bits everywhere throughout your whole lifestyle, all the different aspects. Like I said, the car, the groceries, the wine, the vacations. If you're just upgrading across the board and not really putting any thought into it and prioritizing where you want your money to go, that's the lifestyle creep aspect of it, where it's just kind of happening and you're not even really thinking too much about it. You just feel like, oh, I'm making more money now, so now we can do this, this, and that. And you just kind of have this feeling that we can afford more now. And you just let the money go to all these different areas, and now you're not able to achieve the financial goals you want, or maybe even do some of those things that you would like. Maybe you do want to get a really nice car, or maybe you do want to go on a really expensive vacation. But if you're just letting all the money go everywhere, you can't put that money towards those goals that you want to focus on. So, I think part of the reason why we should be really mindful about how we upgrade our lifestyle also is because it can make things that were once fun and special now just be part of the norm. So like, say for example, in the past, if you only went out to dinner for special occasions, when you go out to dinner, it feels really special. It's like this great treat. But now if you're like, oh, we make so much money now, we can go out to dinner every Friday night because we're making more money, it doesn't feel like a special treat anymore. So now when it's time to celebrate something, you have to upgrade the way you celebrate to make that feel special. So it's kind of like you're kind of creating this situation where everything has to like be a level up above where you currently were, because you're making things that were fun and exciting before be just part of your normal lifestyle. So then when you do want to celebrate something or do something extravagant, it's got to be like a one-up of what you've done before. So you just want to kind of keep that in mind. And sometimes it's nice to just keep those special things special. Like, you know, if going out to dinner is like something that's really important to you and you just love going out to dinner and you love supporting, you know, all the different local restaurants, or for whatever reason, that's something that you really enjoy, then that's fine. You know, maybe that's something you're choosing to say, this is what I value and this is what I want to put my money to. But if it doesn't really, if it doesn't make that much of a difference to you and it's something you only did for like a special treat before, then maybe think about if you really want to just make that part of your normal life now just because you feel like you have the money to afford it. And like I said, some lifestyle creep is good as long as it's done intentionally. And I don't mean to say it that way because it's not really lifestyle creep if you're doing it intentionally. Lifestyle creep is just kind of that natural increasing your spending without really thinking about it. So I guess maybe what I'm saying is upgrading your lifestyle is fine as long as you're doing it intentionally. You know, of course, as we make more income, it's natural to want to be able to have some of the things that we weren't able to have or do at lower income levels. But if you're intentional about where you increase your spending, you can get some of those things that are most important to you and still be able to put some of your increased income towards your financial goals. And I think unless you are very wealthy, I think it's safe to say that all of us have some things we'd like to save up for. So you want to make sure that you're not upgrading so many things in your life that you have nothing left of your increased income to put towards your goals. So a couple of things you can do to try and avoid this lifestyle creep or limit it one of my tips is to increase savings and be intentional with increased income. So one tip here regarding increasing savings is you can consider increasing your retirement contribution to match your salary increase. So say if you're not already maxing out your retirement savings, or if at the very least you're not getting your company match if your company offers one, you could consider increasing your contribution rate at the same time as you receive a pay increase. So this won't allow any lifestyle creep because you'll never see the additional income if you get the timing. You know, as soon as you know you're going to get your increase, go ahead and change your contribution rate. Now, I know some companies might have like, it doesn't go into effect till the next quarter, or it might be a month wait, or whatever the timing is. So you might wind up getting some of that income for a short period of time. But if you know it's going away as soon as that 401k contribution or whatever your retirement funding is goes up, you know you're not going to have that long term, and then you can't even spend that extra income because it's going right to your retirement. And then as far as being intentional, you know, if you really love going out to dinner, then maybe that's an upgrade you want to make. Maybe you want to put a portion of your additional income towards going out to dinner more often. Maybe you want to set up a little fund to save so much money towards going out to dinner. But again, it's being intentional. It's not just going out to dinner all the time whenever you feel like it. Maybe you say, okay, we have this much extra income of this. I'm going to put aside this much money per week towards going out. And when we have enough in that fund to go out to dinner, we can go out to dinner. That way you're not kind of going overboard. You're just kind of, looking at what you have available and deciding how much of it you want to spend for this little upgrade that you want, and then how much is going to go towards your other goals. You're being purposeful about what you're going to do with that income so that you're not going to just spend it all and not have nothing to show for it. The point is just that you want to be aware of any increased spending that you're purposefully choosing and not just allowing it to happen without any thought. Another tip is to make sure you keep your budget. Even if you're making more money, you still need a budget. I think a lot of people consider that being on a budget means that you don't have any money or you're struggling financially. Don't forget, a budget is how you tell your money where you want it to go. So the more income you have, the more important your budget is, because you can have more money now that can be wasted if you're not staying on top of things. And especially if you got like a pretty good increase in income, you can feel like, you have so much more money now than you actually do. And you know that when you're not keeping track of your money, you forget all these purchases that you make. And I remember when I used to first do my budgets, I would always fail at them because I would wait until the end of the week and I would record all the expenses and then see that I was way over budget. And by then it was too late. And I'd be like, okay, great. Now what? You don't remember things that you spent earlier in the week when they're just little incidental costs. And when you have that feeling like you have all this extra money now because you got this great increase or whatever it is, you really need to be tracking it to your budget, because if you're not going to know what happened to that money. So budgeting is not related to having lower income. It's just related to being smart with your money and tracking it. So try not to let yourself ever get to that point where you feel like you have so much income now. Not so much income, but you know what I mean? Like that you're at a level of income now that you don't need to have a budget anymore. You still want to have a budget because that's going to help you make sure you're adjusting all of your priorities with the money that you're making. Another tip is to make a list of your savings priorities. So instead of taking all of your increased income each year and doing as much as you possibly can with it and just kind of spreading it thin all over the place, try to keep a list of the things that you really want to save for. These could be things like home improvement projects, a vacation, maybe some new wardrobe items, whatever it might be. If you keep a list of those things with the estimated cost and kind of keep them in a priority list, by having a list of your priorities, you can choose to save for those items and get them done in priority order instead of just kind of trying to do everything all at once and not really having a game plan on how much those items are going to cost and what things you're going to do first. So when you're in the habit of doing these things based on your priority, it'll likely take you a little slower to get things done, because you're going to really be more aware of what you're spending your money on and really think through it. So like what I do is I have like a little list in Excel, and whenever we think of something we want to do, like for example, we need to replace some fencing. So like when we're talking about, we really need to do that, I go and I run and I put it on my list and I get like a rough estimate and put it on there. And then anytime something like that comes up, I just go and add it to that list, and then we kind of will look at it and say, okay, these are all the things that are on the list. What is the most important to us? And then we'll put that on our priority list first, and then say, okay, well, this is what we're working on first. And if we go to review it again and we've changed our mind on what the priority is, then that's fine. We can move it around. But it's kind of just a good visual to have like this list of what's your priority so that you can really focus in on what you want to be saving for. And that can help you with avoiding lifestyle creep, because if you have that extra money, you could say, okay, well, great, we have this extra money now. These are the things that we really wanted to save for, so let's focus on these however many things you can afford to save up for that are on your list. And then, of course, practice contentment is another tip. I feel like this is always a tip, regardless of what financial area we're looking at, but it's just so important in so many ways to help you with not, making bad financial choices. When you practice contentment and gratitude, you're taking the time to really acknowledge and appreciate the things that you have. And when you recognize and appreciate what you already have, it can lessen the desire to want to purchase more or new things that will use up money that could be put to better use based on the goals that you're trying to accomplish. So what happens a lot of times is people overspend when they feel like they need a treat or a reward. And if you can give yourself that by acknowledging all the things you're grateful for, you'll be less likely to increase your discretionary spending. So not discretionary spending. Because you won't feel that need for like all these little special treats all the time. You can recognize all that you have, and when you're content with what you have and you're grateful for what you have, it much lessens that need to kind of always want to go treat yourself. And then another tip is don't compare yourself to others. So sometimes we can get caught up in comparing ourselves to others. The problem is that there is always going to be someone with a better car, a nicer house, better clothes, fancier vacations. And not only that, but most of the time, all you see are these material things and you have no idea how these things are being paid for. The person you're comparing yourself to could have tons of debt funding the lifestyle, or maybe they're saving in a lot of other areas and really just devoting the bulk of their money towards these things and making sure that they're being really economical in other ways so that they can afford these things. So the point is that you don't know the whole story or why they have those things that you don't. And maybe you never even wanted those things until you saw someone else had them. So this kind of really goes back to the whole contentment thing and being happy with what we have and being happy for others and getting what they want, but not letting that cause us to make bad financial decisions so that we can have those same things if they were never really important to us in the first place. So that's my last kind of tip for limiting lifestyle creep. I think it's just all of them really go back to being intentional and just not letting yourself feel like, oh, I have more money now, I'm just going to spend freely. You really want to always keep yourself intentional with where your money's going so that you know you're making the best choices and you're using that extra income in ways that's going to benefit you and your life in the future, and not just kind of spending it on all these different random little things that add up over time. And if you feel like you're in a situation where this has happened to you and you have increased your lifestyle over time and maybe not in ways that were really important to you, you can reverse lifestyle creep. If you take a look back at the last few years and you've maybe increased some things, maybe you've added like a bunch of subscriptions, like maybe you have, I don't know, Netflix and Hulu and Disney and I don't know, whatever other things there might be. And maybe you've started paying for more, I'm trying to think like what there might be. I don't even know. Subscriptions, like these boxes that come in the mail with like makeup or pet treats or whatever. They have all these like box services, and maybe over time you've seen these things and thought, oh, these are really great, I'm gonna start getting this and I'm gonna start getting that. Well, if you're in a situation like that, you don't need to like cancel all your subscriptions or whatever other things you've done and bring your life to a screeching halt, but take the time now to start looking closer at how you're spending your money and make some decisions on what you'd like to cut out. You can do it slowly, but by taking the time to look at what you're spending your money on, you can take action to stop spending on those things that are not important to you, and then you can reassess where you're at and put that money to better use. So that's all I have to say today about limiting lifestyle creep. I hope this episode was helpful to you in some way. Don't forget, you can email me with any questions or suggestions, including topics you'd like to hear me talk about. You can reach out to me at lolasfrugallife@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Lola's Frugal Life. You can find a blog post for each episode on my website at lolasfrugallife.com. You can also join our private listeners group on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/lolasfrugallife. And if you enjoy the show, please make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen from. And I would love it if you'd screenshot the show and tag me on Instagram. And my biggest request, if you can take a couple of seconds to rate and review the podcast, that'd be really helpful to me. I did see that a couple people left 5-star reviews, a couple new ones in the last few days. I appreciate you, whoever did that. It's so nice to see, and it also helps with the show being found by more listeners. So I'd really appreciate that. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a really awesome day.